Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're all well, having a good day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Been a busy week. Wow, it's been a busy week. A few fireworks went off, but oh, well, it's just the way things are, I guess. Um, yeah, you invite people, and yeah. Anyway, think what you want, but yeah, see some crazy stuff. Some mad comments actually from that so-called debate sort of thing um, the other day, which I thought was just hilarious. Actually, some of it, but some people just show a complete lack of understanding, honestly. Um, but the comments afterwards. I mean, people are just so ridiculous, honestly. Um, but it still blows my mind just how much people don't know. How much they don't understand about the body and the physiology and things like that, which I do understand because I was the same 10 years ago, or 13, almost 15, 13, 14 years ago now. So hello there, Josephine. Very nice of you to join me. Always good to see you here. Yeah. So today is Anzac Day here in Australia anyway, so I'm going to talk about that for a bit. It is, for Americans, kind of like a Remembrance Day. Okay. It actually started after the First War in Gallipoli. So it's a day of remembrance for those who've lost and who have served in the past and people who are still serving today. Harry, very nice of you to join me, mate. How you doing? Harry Sopranos. Harry, you be welcome to join us if you want. Welcome to be joining me very soon as well. You can see his windows up there if you want to join. I will put that in there. Nice of you to stop by. There you go. There is the link. I think I can hear Jonathan in the background just now, so he'll be joining us soon. Yeah, so you're welcome to join me tonight.
Hello.
Hey, big guy, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Mm.
Oh God, it's not
Yeah,
coming
John,
through.
can you hear us? Can you hear
Testing
okay,
one,
mate?
2, 3.
I was just telling people about Anzac Day. It's Anzac Day here in Australia,
Reset this.
and we just lost him. Yeah, so it's quite a big day for Australians to. There we go. You back?
Got a problem with my audio. I don't know if you can hear me.
No, I
Give me a
can hear
thumbs
you,
up if you
mate.
can hear me.
Thumbs up.
Okay, I can't hear you, so we're off to a good start
Okay.
there. Just checked all my settings. I'm going to do it again now, but it's an
No
output
worries.
thing on my end, so
Okay,
we'll see.
we'll see. Just unmute you there. All right. All right. Just let me know when you can hear me. Yeah. So it's today. I did a bit of filming. Went to march just in a small town. But actually, it's quite good to see the amount of people turn up here in Australia. You kind of think that kind of thought that patriotism was something lost here sometimes, but actually it's alive
You
and
have to
well.
bear with me. It's something on my end for sure. It's definitely on my end.
Yeah, I'd say so, buddy. Um, so I might even put some footage up of that. Actually, I made a video of that today, which I'll put up on my Patreon page if you're interested. Be free to watch, free for everyone to watch on the Patreon page. You're welcome to go and have a look. I think it's one of those last days that we actually have in Australia, and they're still trying to get rid of that as well. But it's it's deeply rooted in our. I think it should be. I think it should be more important for most people, because wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we are always standing on the shoulders of those that came before us. So Anzac Day, I think, is a very important day for Australians, and each country has a day to
Jesus,
celebrate or remember their
all the
soldiers.
settings are correct.
All your settings are right, mate. We can hear you. Give us a thumbs up if you're having trouble hearing us, or let us know if you're having trouble.
Resort to the phone. They were.
Okay, mate. Technical issues always arise, especially when you're doing live streams. Hey, good to see you again, mate. Hey, gents, good to see you. Regards from Belgium. The sound and video is okay. Good. Excellent. Thank you very much. Sounds good. Excellent. Thank you, Josephine. Yeah, I think it's just a problem on Jonathan's end. He can't hear us, so that's okay. Yes. So, we're talking about. I'm not sure how many people watched that debate the other day, but I mean, the ridiculous comments you get afterwards are just hilarious, honestly. Hey, Jonathan, can you hear us?
Hear and see you, yeah. All good.
All right, all good.
Apologies for that. Yeah, I set it up before already, so all the bars are going fine on my computer. Sound was coming out, everything, and it's like, oh, switch to StreamYard. No, we're not letting you do that this morning.
Yeah, fair enough. It's all right. There's always technical issues, happen. StreamYard is very unreliable. I find sometimes it's just sometimes it's great, but other times it's just not so good.
Yeah, it has its limitations. When it comes to inputs in YouTube, you have to go separately to YouTube Studio versus StreamYard to put in like tags or anything. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Then you have like a bulk setting; it doesn't save it, and all sorts.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain at times, but I've managed to actually start streaming this to Rumble as well, so that's one good thing, I guess.
That's good. Yeah, it's good to have it in different things.
Yeah. As I do have a Rumble page, if anyone is interested in heading over there, because they're on Rumble, I can talk more about, or I don't have to worry about being banned or
I'm testing the limits at the moment myself with censorship stuff. You probably worked out my videos, like some of the more recent ones. It's what can I put into a video which doesn't trigger anything, basically.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Let me know when you hit the limit.
Yeah, I'll find out. I'm sure.
Yeah. Actually, you would probably get a lot of this. I was just talking about some of the ridiculous comments you get from, not necessarily vegans, but just people who have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's a man thing for sure. It's some sort of Napoleon complex. Like me, you, or Barker, or anyone can make a video which everything's well documented. It makes sense. It's good information. And some will be like, "Oh, you've missed something." It's like, no, I didn't miss anything. In fact, I said it at 3 minutes 45 seconds in. It's like they just want to have a word. It's like, yeah, I know you know a lot. Great. Like you make a channel. You tell everyone how much you know.
Well, that's it. That's another thing too, isn't it? It's like, well, where's your channel? Where's your videos? Let's see. How good are they?
Yeah. A certain demographic.
That's right. They're quite happy to sit on the fence and not show their face or do anything. But they're quite happy to comment and direct put everyone
They
else
don't
down.
get very far on my channel. Got we counted the other day. It's 320 odd people blocked.
Oh wow,
320.
Okay.
Some people complain about, oh, I get bullied online. I'm like, that's just one platform.
Yeah.
And
That's
I just block people that if someone makes a comment and it makes me question, is that a fair comment or are they being rude? I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. I just block them. There's no sense in trying to appease people, because what does their interaction gate give me? Nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
So.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, I've just ignored them so far, but honestly, like, like I have one. Oh my god, one idiot is saying, "Oh, you feed nothing but steak to babies. What about babies? They need milk." Seriously, like, this is a guy goes by the name of Carb Coach, right? Like, no one even talked. He's talking about the debate with that vegan and Bart the other day, but like, no one even mentioned babies, right? But I have a
it's
very
not
good
relevant in the
video
context of the
that was
conversation, is it?
Amber
It's
Ahern,
when we give out sort of broad advice, we kind of take it with a pinch of salt and kind of imagine the person watching this probably isn't a 1-year-old baby or a toddler.
that's right.
You know,
No,
and
exactly.
an adult that's watching the video should be able to sort of say they've been given milk from millions of years, thousands of years, whatever. And I think it's probably a good thing to keep doing it. It's like it's general knowledge, you know. It's not.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to caveat every word you say with, "Oh,
No,
it's
that's
fine for
right. And you
babies,
shouldn't
not
have
for
to
an
do
adult."
it like every video or every live. You shouldn't have to like reiterate like, yes, babies need mother's milk, you know, to grow and to keep the ketones flowing and all this sort of stuff, feed the brain and stuff. Shouldn't have to go into every detail, every video, you know. But there you go.
Yeah.
People are just ridiculous like that. Like, I've got this other guy's comment. It's like, oh, but you know, or that, you know, you need glucose and you got to have glucose for this, and there's fat's called fat because it's already fat. You know, like, Jesus, seriously, it's amazing. It still blows my mind just how much people don't know. You know,
I'm constantly puzzled myself every day. Like, I use Chat GPT to get a lot of information, schedule things, sort of understand things a bit better. I'm sat there thinking, the fact I have to ask it so many questions means I probably don't know much at all. You know?
Yeah. I like Grok actually on X. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
That really helps with a lot of things actually. It just speeds up the process of writing scripts and things like that as well, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes, I mean, you have to ask it. I mean, I think it's a very useful tool actually, because I mean, no one knows everything, right? And we're all, you know, a lot of this is very much experimenting and using ourselves and as guinea pigs and so on. But you know, when people make ridiculous comments like that, like fat is fat because it's called fat before it could, it makes you fat, sort of thing. It's like, my God, like, yeah, I don't know. Was it like 50 years ago? People were thinking. I think even then they knew better than that. I don't know. I don't know where they get these ridiculous ideas, honestly. But I mean, you got people like that vegan with, they're replacing, like, completely replacing fats, animal fats, with carbohydrates, and nothing but sugar, basically. Even openly saying like gummy bears and shit. It's like absolutely insane, absolutely insane. But what do you do? You can't. I mean, I'm over it. I'm over the sort of food wars bullshit. Honestly, people are just. I mean, they either listen or they don't. And if they don't, if they're going to make stupid comments like that, I just either ignore it completely or just block them. Honestly.
Yeah, there's enough of our channels for them to annoy, so we'll just move on to the next person.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it just blows. It still blows my mind though, just how ridiculous some people can be, and how stupid they can be. But that's just the way it is, I guess. That's never going to change. I don't think. It's certainly not anytime soon. But
no, people are getting all the news slaps in the face, every day now. And some things we know to be true, which 5 years ago we might have said a bit differently. And it's like right in their face now. It's all sort of bulletproof, sealed, enveloped, and stickered, and sent off in the post. And people are like, "Oh yeah, well, it doesn't no, we should be actively fighting against it." Disinformation, political attacks, just all the stuff we see in the news now. It's all sort of arse backwards. I sometimes wonder who's actually out there to help us, because you sort of watch. People make comments about RFK Jr. sort of thing, saying, "Oh, he's going to spice up the health industry and this, that, and the other." I think, yeah, but he's probably going to get a lot of things wrong as well. I kind of anticipate that. So, but I think it's these false idols and white knights. We need to work out who's who.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's going to be a positive step in the right direction. But like I said, no one person knows everything, and not one person can do everything right all the time. So it's always going to be, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sort of thing. And
it was good debate
the
the
only
other
thing
day,
we can do
wasn't it?
about that, that's right. And the only thing we can do about that is to watch and wait, because it's really not much we can do about it, except for what we're already doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Bart made a good point in that, Harry, but Bart made a good point, sort of saying, okay, we've introduced this, that, and the other into our diets, and it's not made as well. Well, let's extrapolate from what the lady's saying, what she's contending. Let's disprove it where we can. And what are we left with? It's like, well, we're left with N15 isotope data, the biological gut digestive system of a carnivorous animal and stuff like that.
How you doing,
so,
Harry? Yeah.
You all right, Harry?
Yeah, that's right.
Not too bad.
Thanks
Just
for joining us, Harry.
Full screen now.
Yeah, I noticed a notification come up and I go, oh, interesting. I wonder what these chaps are doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm subscribed to both of you, so I get two that come up and I go, oh, wonder what these chaps are doing.
At least it's come up. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Well,
just,
at least that's
just a bit of plant poison.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah, same.
Jonathan's
got black coffee today. Yeah.
I'm very strict. I've just got water.
Is that it? Well, you are. You're probably doing better than us then.
Well, I'm not always. But
none of us are saints. We live in a food environment. We've got friends, relatives, and people that we are around, and there's always things that are going to be put smacking it into our face.
Yeah, that's
try
right.
this, Harry. So none of us are saints. As long as we can keep it together for 95% of the time, or 90%, depending on what your preference is. That's the key thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Well, good question. How have you been, Ashley? Jonathan, you've been everything's going all right?
Lots of hospital appointments, tests, and things, and trying to keep in touch with that's a part for them about 3 or 4 weeks time. Very excited. It's my first niece. Then about 6 weeks, I've got to try and win again. So that's largely it, really. So babies coming and bodybuilding. What about you guys?
It's a great effort. It's very inspiring. You're still competing, in your situation. I think it's a great effort, mate. Me, just sort of working on a lot of videos and stuff at the moment. And
you got me involved in YouTube like 2.5 years ago, and I tend to listen to Harry a little bit, and
Harry's
try and do something I enjoy and find.
We didn't catch that. Are you there? Still? Oh, yeah. There you are. freezing up a bit. We lost him.
Yeah.
He'll be back. He'll be back. So, yeah, for me, like just trying to get as much information out as I can, I guess, and interviews and things like that. Actually, I'd love to interview you sometime, Harry. Should do sometime.
You've got my email address. It's
yep.
Sopranos at Proton Mail. You'll get it under the tab. If you go there, just send me. We'll organise something.
Yeah,
now that I've got more free time, it's coming up. So, I've pretty much dealt with most of Dad's stuff. We got his toilet changed. We got all the taps changed. He's 90 years old, so most things have been sorted in his place, which is good. Got the railing outside. That's all done. I've still got to go up on the roof and actually repair something, but I'll probably do that next weekend. So I'll sort that out. Then there's a couple of items still on his plate with his knee. Trying to get in to see a doctor about that. So that's still sort of up in the air a bit. So I've been more busy with family things and work and stuff like that. So I've sort of been away from the YouTube, you could say, the social media to some extent. I've just been posting things on my the post page, so to speak, community posts and stuff like that, and a few other things. I've done a few things on the other channel, the Harry Sopranos Opinions, just because one, they were current affairs type things, and at the same time, I just wanted to put a bit of material there, hoping that I'll get a bit of growth. It hasn't really happened as I was sort of hoping, but it is what it is with YouTube.
Yeah, that's it.
They only do so much.
I was talking to Jonathan about this last time. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a live and I was watching the views on my short from that morning, actually going backwards in like a 30-minute period. It went down 100 views.
Yep.
It is what it is. I think a lot of channels should be a lot bigger, and there's not much we can do about it.
Yeah, the moment you touch on controversial issues, you say certain words or whatever, the AI algorithm picks up on those and immediately either shadow bans you or suppresses how much you sort of proliferate. If you're doing just nonsense stuff, video nonsense and comedy, as long as it's not controversial comedy, it just mushrooms out like wildfire, just spreads so rapidly. But the thing is, I don't do
you can see that when you see people feeding the narrative as well, that all these plant-based channels, they just get tons of views. They get really pushed.
That vegan woman, was it Victoria? She's got nearly as many subscribers as me.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing
she's
is,
done it
I've
in like
been,
third amount of video.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Jonathan. Even though I haven't been on, I didn't even when Bart did his live stream or the live stream to do the actual debate. I was in an appointment. I just didn't have the time to follow. It was early in the morning as well, so I was preparing myself because I had an appointment. But I was actually getting questions on my channel about it, and I'm going, ask the bald man why are you basically?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. So I had like a ton of these idiot comments, just morons saying fat is fat because it's fat and all this sort of garbage.
Exactly.
It's amazing how retarded these people are. Like, honestly, that it's like I was talking to Jonathan before. It blows my mind just how little people know. But
it's the confusion.
None of them had the guts to actually do this on Bart's channel. Yeah. So I mean,
I was blocking people left, right, and centre. I was moderating both channels. I was like,
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with it. And the thing is, last time, do you remember with Vegan Gains, I think it was, I was moderating that, and I think we actually had like 3 other mods online. It was like a 2-3 hour thing. And I was going to like the middle of the night, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so fucking tired. I blocked at least 60 people. Not exaggerating, about 60 odd people. This lady called Mary or something came to my channel, supporter of Bart's, and said, you should be ashamed of yourself. You didn't proactively moderate the channel, and it ruined the stream for me because I couldn't see what everyone was saying. I'm like, I just dedicated like the middle of my night, sacrificing my sleep to help you out. Like, you're sort of saying I didn't do enough. It's literally a block. It's like all on repeat. People bananas.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous to basically make. Yeah, it's a ridiculous
Like
argument.
chasing people around social media.
You can never please everyone.
Yeah. No, you get that too. Yeah, even the people that do support Bart, like it's like, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? It's like, yeah, give us a break.
People like me and Bart, we can't be told. We can't be told.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well,
doesn't compute.
I got that as well. On my channel, why didn't Bart talk about this? Why didn't Bart talk about that? Why didn't he bring up this sort of discussion? Why didn't he go into more detail on this? Well, it's a debate. It's not sitting there. He's got videos to explain a whole lot of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a debate. You're actually debating and arguing specific points. You're not doing a lecture. If you want a lecture, there are videos there that cover all these points in greater detail. You can't cover things in great detail in a debate. All you can do is basically point out the illogicality or why something doesn't make sense, in the sense that what people are expressing is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't, like, it takes so long. Like, you can't start presenting like all these different papers and stuff and research and stuff like that in a debate. You know, I mean, it's just
it's the way it's formatted as well.
People don't fully
Bart's
understand.
best defense was, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm not going to comport all your ideological viewpoints. So basically, the lady, I think Victoria, I think she had 6 topics she wanted to sort of say, carnivore diets aren't good for this reason.
Right. She sent me a list of
Bart
6
just defended
things.
the point, saying they're all crap.
Yeah, exactly. But when she actually fronted out and she started talking about that, she just rambled on like, she'd go into 5 or 6 different sort of avenues, like tangents for every point.
But what about? Let me address what you said first, then we can get to that after. We can do a bit point by point fashion, so we're not getting our words muddled.
Can I ask you, DC, what were the actual points that she actually sent you? The exact points. What? Just read them out for me, because it would have been good to hear exactly what her points were.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just have a look at it. I still got the email. I'll just go in there and have a look. One of them, of course, like she started talking like at the end, it was just ridiculous. It was, why don't you go and attack the cows and tear into its flesh while it's still alive, sort of thing. Because logically, she thinks that we're not carnivores. We don't
because
have the
I don't have the anatomy of a cat.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see basically other carnivorous animals doing the same thing. I mean, that's not merely illogical. It is
that's just plain
the
stupid.
level, it's the infantile level of argument. It's an infantile level of argument, because to argue that when there are so many varied, we have things like vultures, which are carnivorous. We have all sorts of animals, and the way they access animal foods is very different between them. So to basically make an argument why you're doing the same as let's say cats is a complete nonsensical argument to even bring up. It is just it's something that a child would say, infantile, that never grew up.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't expect it from an adult.
No, that's right. Yeah, I mean, you would think they would know better, but honestly, just try and find this
I would have thought,
email.
or an infant. I said, so there's another infant in the home.
Yeah.
That probably would have upset her, but anyway.
That's why I don't. Yeah, this will sound a bit elitist, I'm sure, but I don't really debate. If I chat with someone I know, like a friend or something, I don't really debate them on diet stuff because one, they just know I'm going to disseminate what they're going to say, but two, it just causes a bit of. It's like I know they don't know enough to understand the points that I'm making. Like if I said to them, we looked at the long bones of, I don't know, old historic fossilizations. We found this. They're like, what's N15? I'm like, okay, well, let's get back to chemistry a little bit and stuff like that. But so I have to explain this, and if they don't get that, it's we found it in our ancestors.
It's not easy to
source.
It's not easy to explain
here's the
these
source.
things.
Can you understand it? No. Okay.
No.
The question as well, if you want to gap fill.
That dropped me a comment, Jonathan. I said to them, "Look, I have videos for that, and I directed them to specific videos. I said, and I do intend to make for the other points that you've made specific videos covering that, but I'll give you just a sort of a short summary, which I did on a comment. But I prefer just saying, look, I've already covered this. I usually don't, but I usually say this is the video that you can look at.
Admit, yeah, you're much better than me with the comment section. You dedicate more time to it, but if you're trying to get down to the bottom of what the point is you're trying to say, whereas me, it's like I don't have the energy. I'm already spending hours a day staring at the screen. Don't want to do it longer.
I just do it off the cuff. Sometimes I'm walking, or I'm walking to the city. I just pull out my mobile phone and I'll just do it then and there as I go. So sometimes there can be some like grammatical errors in my comments. I have found, but
very rarely.
The gist of what I'm trying to get across is still there.
Yeah.
Right.
Harry, can I just ask you? So my stepmom's been diagnosed with endometrial cancer, and it's spread to her stomach. All within the last, say symptomatically, I'd say within the last month or two. She's starting treatment next Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, she's jabbered.
Has she done jab of the hut?
Yeah.
Well,
like probably all of them.
She may. Let me just put it this way: she may have explosive cancer.
Yeah.
And the problem is she's got a suppressed immune system. Under these sort of circumstances, you've got very little time for survival. Sorry for being a person of bad news, but it's just a reality.
I know this is. I mean, it's very difficult.
I was just going to say you can intervene. All the other sort of stuff, depleted deuterium water, minimising this or minimising that is a waste of time. We're talking about this is sort of your close to very acute or very close to death, so to speak.
Yeah.
What you got to do is, because T lymphocytes are the key thing that basically kills both foreign things plus cancer cells. If you've got a suppressed immune system, you don't take taurine because taurine can actually help the cancer, unfortunately. In rat models, we don't know whether it does work like that in humans when the immune system is really severely suppressed. When it's not, it actually protects the immune system from immunosenescence and actually increases T lymphocytes and stuff like that. So what we have to do is we have to reduce the spike load. So you basically need to she needs to do the protocol ASAP like yesterday.
Yeah.
And on steroids to basically give her immune system a bit of a chance. Also get the peptide TA1 peptide, which is your thymus, so you can basically boost your immune function. You got to get your vitamin D levels up rapidly, so you get active vitamin D or injections to get your vitamin D levels really up really quickly. So you have to do all these things. So vitamin D, the protocol on steroids, and TA1 peptide if you can get it. So they will boost her immune system and it will slow down the progression. Then you can do some of the other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look
Yeah,
at
I
that.
think
I'll
when
check your
you're
videos out again. Yeah, cheers.
when you're at like an extreme level, you have to do extreme things, to fight it. Actually, speaking of that, like certain spike proteins and stuff like that, there was some research came out. Actually, a really good video of people who are researching this sort of stuff after the jibby jab thing. Nicotine kills those little nano things that are actually in this little jibby jab thing as well. Just pure nicotine, not like cigarette, like the treated sort of crap that you get from smoking and stuff like that. But pure nicotine actually kills that as well. So
If
So at
you're
least
looking for
two pathways.
survival, DC, obviously you would use that. But at the same time, nicotine has deleterious effects on the vasculature, the endothelium, in particular from
yeah, but it's
the
not something you
pressure
need to
side.
continuously use though, like a one-off
Yep,
use, or
yep,
that will do the job. So it's not something you would
yep.
you continue to use, whereas other things like
I've,
you're saying you would.
can you give Jonathan a dose?
Yeah, yeah. I'll send you the video actually for that.
Yeah, have a look. I mean, I've looked at different things, and I think it's 2 milligrams 3 times per day, something like that.
Yeah, something
I
like
could be
that.
wrong, something like that. But
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I can't remember. I heard it a while back, but I just can't remember the exact dosing either.
Mm.
I'm sure there'd be more information out there about it anyway. So I'll try and track some down for you anyway. Gents, what are you thinking about a statement I heard that each food causes a kind of inflammation in the guts? The more carb, the more inflammation in the gut lining. Thanks.
We'll be here
What do
for
you
a
guys
little while, I think. Depends which mechanism we're going to look at. Should we pick one each?
think? If you
Well,
want.
let me put it this way. With it depends. I mean, when we talk about the gut, is the gut lining in a healthy state or not?
Yeah.
In an unhealthy state, it doesn't really matter what foods they are. Is your stomach producing sufficient stomach acid to break down things to simple amino acids, simple fatty acids, and simple carbohydrates? If it's not, then you've got foreign material that's entering your gut, reacting with the immune system in your gut, reacting with, as I think I pointed out to one person ages ago that was complaining about, casein and all that. And I go, well, if you've got leaky gut, obviously, and you don't have good stomach acid and you're coming off a vegan diet, I wouldn't recommend dairy because you'll probably end up with a lot of foreign particles in your bloodstream, and that get through the blood-brain barrier and probably cause you some issues. But if you've fixed a lot of that sort of stuff, that's a different issue altogether. We can see historically people were lean, fit, healthy, relatively in the past, and they were consuming plenty of dairy and didn't seem to have any problems. What, all of a sudden people basically acquired dairy intolerance? No. If you've basically been consuming shitloads of glyphosate since the Second World War, antibiotics and all these sort of things, derange your gut microbiome, reduce the sort of bacterial, especially the lactobacillus, that can break down galactose. If you've done that, obviously you're going to have more problems in basically being able to deal with dairy properly. So it depends on all these sort of circumstances whether you're going to get inflammation. The difference is, like, do you get some level of reactive oxygen species inside the mitochondria when you're basically oxidizing different substrates of food energy? Yes. You get more from carbohydrates through complex 1 than you'll get from beta oxidation that primarily goes through complex 3. So there is a difference there. But
Yeah.
and that's because the Krebs cycle is not really a circle. It's all these enzymatic pathways linked to the electron chains. So that is a different kettle of fish altogether. Inflammation in the gut has to do with the state of your gut, the state of your immune system, the state of your stomach, all these sort of things. It's has to be nuanced and understood in those terms, and also pre-existing conditions. You may have come into a carnivore diet, you may be able to only tolerate meat, but not other things. Why? Because you've still got underlying leaky gut and all that. If somebody comes to me and they've got leaky gut, I go, what is your stomach made of? What is your, what are a lot of the tissues of these things made of? Your vascular tree, your gut lining, and all that. Oh, that's right. They're made of glutamate. They're made of. I'd give you 10 grams for about 3 months to basically fix your gut lining, and that'll do the trick. In that regard, you don't have to do it for ever, because you're going to be starting to eat meat, you're going to be absorbing it properly, things are going to start working properly in that period. But that's how you sort of deal with that problem, because most people that are coming out of a poor diet, it's usually because nutritional deficiencies, inappropriate things that they're consuming and all that. And as a consequence, they end up with a lot of these things. This is another reason why I'm vehemently against glutamate restriction for cancer people. You get cachexia, you end up, your gut gets ruined completely, your vascular tree gets ruined completely. Oh, okay, we've slowed down the cancer, but we've destroyed the rest of the body. Really? You absolute morons? This is why, Thomas Seyfried is probably an enlightened person as far as what happens in the mitochondria, the experiments that he's made. Taking out the nucleus, taking out the mitochondria, putting them in other cells and showing like a reduction. As scientists, oh, this is what happens. Yes, okay. You've proven that it's primarily the mitochondria not functioning properly. In my case, it's basically then they signal to the cytosol, then pretty much that upregulates certain oncogenes and some other old programs for fermentation. That's what's happening, and then it's pushing out a whole lot of lactate. Now, if you don't have a suppressed immune system, what suppresses lactate production? Taurine. That's why you go high doses and suppress it, because it actually forces that suppression. And what is it using all these precursors to do it? Is to doing that exactly. So that's why I don't subscribe to those sort of approaches and the sort of blunt instrument approach, because it doesn't work. You really have to basically, and that's the other thing that idiot woman Victoria said about P53. Well, what is P53? It's a tumor suppressor. It suppresses tumors. It basically, any cell that is undergoing growth and proliferation, it reverts it back to what? To a senescent cell, because it's still damaged. It's stopping it from basically a cell that has damaged DNA and deranged mitochondria is reverted back via P53 back to a senescent state. Then it's a matter of boosting your immune system to kill it off with the T lymphocytes, which is a different, or senolytics like Pfizer or whatever in the evenings when your melatonin is high and it amplifies the effect. And it is a fat-soluble polyphenol, just for those who want to know. But that's how you do it, and you amplify the 680% cure rate that you won't get in the daytime if you use Pfizer. But those are the sort of strategies that you end up using to deal with those sort of things. She had no idea what she was talking about.
Oh no!
And I could see Bart actually smiling and grinning when she was saying that. But he should have hammered her on that, and he didn't. And I was surprised for that. But anyway.
Well, I think, I don't know. She rambled on a lot, but
because he knows about it. I've talked about it before with him, so he definitely knows about it. But he didn't. He was just basically playing it in a way where Bart likes to basically have this, tug and pull sort of thing because it
Goalkeeper.
helps with his algorithm, as it points out to me, which
Yeah.
sometimes people like me that want to hear a bit more from him frustrate me. There you go. You could use it as some additional arguments, Bart, but no, he just wants to basically, he doesn't want to nail it and close down the whole thing. He wants to keep it going so he can have his
I
little
see he was
fun.
doing that throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, for Bart, it's all about entertainment. When
Exactly.
it comes to the debates, anyway, not so much the other things, but
No. The other thing, he
I
goes
agree.
through
Like,
thoroughly.
glutamine is so important to the body, and like when you the problem is when you're looking at something like in a lab, you've got one process happening at the time. So yeah, glutamine can ferment and feed cancer, but there's so many other processes going on in the body that will divert or suppress the uptake of,
Yep.
So I mean, you can't just, like in a lab, you can't take, what happens with one little experiment is going to, work in the body, sort of thing, because there's like 1,000 things going on in the body at the same time. So
That's what Harry
It's
taught
what we
me.
call reductionist research.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, and it always is, because I mean, you can't really study like 1,000 things happening all at once, and that, I mean, that's just one of these human arrogances that we have, I guess. That we can sort of pinpoint one thing and nail it down, sort of thing. But that's the way it is, I
But
guess.
if on one point about cancer as well, what a lot of these people sometimes seem to forget to say as well. Okay, they use all these drugs, they suppress it really well for a period of time. Chemo, they hit it with everything, which they should use with chemo. They should use taurine because it's chemoprotective. It protects the normal cells and the immune system from damage when you do it. They've actually done the experiments. I've actually done some videos on it. But, still academia and the MDs, there's like no connection there. And then the other thing that is important is, yes, you do that, but what happens is after there's like a rebound eventually, and that rebound is into metastasis.
Yeah.
So the over suppression will actually lead to metastasis.
Okay.
There's
Should
your
we keep
problem
on this question
with modern approach of oncology.
Yeah. Should we tackle that question, because I've not even looked at it yet? The last one.
Which one?
The one that was on the screen about 5 seconds ago.
The Randall cycle.
The
Well,
one that
when
was
it
on the
comes
screen
to
5 seconds
the
ago.
Randall cycle, as
Yeah, this one.
as Bart quite clearly stated, you want to go? I'll let you go. Have a go.
Yeah,
If you want to talk
I'm
about
here to answer questions from my subscribers.
Yep, true.
Yeah, so this guy's also been coached by me for 2.5 years, so I don't want to piss him
Okay.
off. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention was about the mechanoreceptors in the gut. So every tissue in our body, at least like muscular-wise, smooth muscle tissue, will have mechanoreceptors in it which identify if there's a stretch reflex in the actual cells. Problem is, when you're eating like a diet with carbohydrates, the volume of food that you're going to take in goes up. You're also going to deal with more hydration. So people that are on, a mixed macronutrient Western diet are going to drink more water. So they've got more swollen guts, more diluted stomach acid. So things aren't going to run through as cleanly. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. So I think if you've ever had like a giant roast dinner or something, or Christmas meal, whatever, doesn't matter what it is, whatever food, your guts will be sore. And yeah, they are actually sore because you've always got to deal with the tissue damage, which, I mean, acutely, it's probably like a 3 to 7 day kind of thing. Like you eat junk food, 3 to 7 days, it's largely sorted itself out. And obviously, leaky gut is more of an ongoing long term problem. But that's the element of it I'd look at personally, outside of plant anti-nutrients, bioavailability, stuff like that. I mean, plant nutrition, Harry will know the data better than I do, but say whey protein or eggs or whatever is 100% bioavailable. Plants could be 60, 70, 80%. that doesn't account for the actual nutrition that you're going to be taking in. So in some cases, things like tannins can block iron absorption by up to 60%. So having a glass of, I'm talking like a strong tea, a strong herbal tea with your steak or something. Well, say that steak has 10 milligrams of iron, you might get 4.
Yeah.
Would you reckon, Harry?
I completely agree with you on that. That's exactly the case. It's usually the anti-nutrients, and obviously, if you put too much down that tube, you're going to create a lot of discomfort. It doesn't matter what food it is.
I think
It's, you
sorry.
can't stuff yourself like mad with anything.
Speaking of, he's got a good diet. The guy asked the
Fiber-
question. His diet's solid. He's on probably close to 200 protein, about 120, 130 fat. He does all the health hacks. He's got hyperbaric oxygen therapy, sauna, red light, the lot,
Bloody hell.
the screen blocking stuff. So you look at him, honestly, Harry. You look at his body now. He enjoys his food more. He's like a breath of fresh air every time I see him. He's like ripped and he's building muscle. And it's like he's 50 years old. You don't really anticipate it, but you look at this guy, you're like, shit, I'd like to look at that at 50 odd.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, good. I think fiber is another big problem too. When it comes to inflammation, fiber is the only thing that actually, when we do eat it, it expands in our stomach rather than breaking down. And what you eat can actually expand fiber-wise, can expand up to 5 times its size. That's where you get a lot of inflammation as well. When you're trying to digest that.
Sometimes more than that as well.
Yeah,
like
that's right. So,
chia seed, xanthan gum, guar gum, pectin, all these things. All these things are in
there. It does 2 other things as well.
there.
In the stomach
Carrageenan.
and the gut, it does too.
What's that, Harry?
Bacteria.
I was just going to say that in the stomach, fiber, depending on whether it's cooked, because cooked breaks down the volume when you cook it.
Yeah.
When you don't cook it, you get the opposite. You get more. The other thing is if you look under an electron microscope in any fibrous tissue, plant fibrous tissue, you'll actually see little hooks or little things. Now they can actually rip into the gut lining and the stomach lining. So that's another problem with fiber. The other issue is that it, obviously blocks nutrient absorption in the small intestine. And the third one, in the actual stomach itself, it can actually affect the acidity levels. That means the ability to absorb and break down those nutrients, ending up with more because what the stomach does is it denatures everything. It breaks everything down to simple amino acids, fatty acids, and all that. So when I hear people say, "Oh, about denaturing," I go, "Oh, whatever." The stomach does exactly that. If it doesn't, you've got complete or semi-complete proteins that are going to interact potentially with your immune system in your gut. Not a good thing.
No, that's right.
Yeah, well said,
That's why I always say, like, eating fiber, you might as well eat sandpaper or a bag of rocks. It's going to be healthier. Yeah, it's crazy. Question: what is the significance of the Randall cycle? Easy one.
3 or 4 people that actually know it quite well. You just need Bart now, and we're there pretty much. He wants to have a go at it.
Oh, you can go if you want.
You can go.
Okay, so we've got. Why is it significant? Well, it causes systemic chronic inflammation, so a toxic overburden of inflammation within the body. How does it do that? It causes glycation. That's one mechanism. So the turning of proteins into glucoproteins. I can't remember what they're called. I don't bother to remember. I don't care. Basically, what the Randall cycle is, you have fatty acids coming into the cell and glucose coming into the cell at once. The problem is there's a blockade, as in they tried to get in, but you can't fit that many units of said substrate in at one time because there's a limited capacity. So that's the point where you start to create more fat cells. So more fat cells means you got more room to gain more surface area to store tissues, toxins, things like that. So that's why we usually say, if you get high quality animal food, like say you're buying your ground beef, mince, whatever, the fattier it is, ideally, in the purest sense of you, you're going to look to have like the most nutrient dense, organic, grass fed, whatever. It's just going to have a bit more goodness in the tissues. The same thing's true with our standard Western diets, where if we eat a lot of processed food with seed oils and higher leic acid crap, that constitutes what makes up our cells. So then it affects the mitochondrial capacity and functionality, the amount of energy we can put out, so our ability to, I don't know, fight off illness and stave off, acute infections becomes less. So we effectively just get more inflamed and more damaged over time. The next question usually is, how much does it take to activate the Randle cycle? And that is answered by, it depends. The more active you are, the more muscle mass you have, the bigger pool or bigger kind of faucet you can use. So, for example, me versus, I don't know, Bart, I weigh a lot more than Bart. I imagine I do a bit more in terms of like training. So I can tolerate more carbohydrates in my diet versus what he can. Is in there's more mass of my body, more glycogen to not overburden the system. But then I know people that can tolerate a lot without any inflammation. My brother, he doesn't. He's kind of like animal based ish, but he can do like 200 grams of carbs a day pretty easily. I can't. So that's just unique to me. So that's where genetics come involved, which I suspect is largely just due to the inflammation in your body. And if I use different medications, that'll affect it a lot. So my body's very sensitive now to different things. So, for example, the other day, about a week ago, I started a new painkiller medication. My weight jumped 3 kilos within 3 days. I didn't eat 3 kilos more food. I did exactly the same things for the prior 3 days. So you won't be able to find the answer out to how much you can tolerate. The question is how little you can get away with having while still having the best health outcomes. That's my kind of suspicion on it.
Yeah.
Well, what you said there about the volume of the person's body, the actual tissue size has a big role, obviously, when it comes to that. And between humans, there is not much of a vast difference in stomach size. Our organs have a
About
certain
400
size and all that.
milliliter capacity, yeah.
Yeah, and this is why another reason why shorter people can end up, on a mixed diet, actually getting fatter faster than somebody who's tall. Again, for those reasons, the satiety signaling, that gets disrupted and stuff like that. On the other hand, somebody who's taller and physically active. Uh, just look at the athletes that actually go out and do marathons and stuff like that. That carb loading and throwing things in left, right, and centre. They stop doing it because they can't do it anymore. They're sort of wrecks. They've, worn their body out quite a bit. And then they're actually in their mid-30s or close to their 40s, and you just see them balloon out like mad. And it's the reason that their ability to tolerate now, when they're more sedentary, less physically active, now that those cells are taking in energy, food energy, in terms of glucose or fats through different receptors on the cell wall. They're taking that sort of stuff, but they're struggling to get on the Ferris wheel. Because just think of the Krebs cycle as a Ferris wheel, because acetyl-CoA, beta oxidation, pyruvate, dehydrogenase, what it is, end up as acetyl-CoA to get into the Krebs cycle. Well, if you're trying to both get onto the Ferris wheel, and there's too many of, there's going to be sort of this cross inhibition, saying that the cell is going to go, well, guys, too many in this room, like and as a bouncer, as Bart would say, as a bouncer, you just lock out the doors. Initially, it's a fader. It just sort of slowly, as the food energy increases in the actual bloodstream, or being processed through the liver, to portal vein, and and once you've got it out in circulation, the body can only cope with so much. especially if you're more sedentary, you're less physically active, and all those sort of things. You've got lower threshold of tolerance. So that fader or the gradient of the Randall cycle will vary because of all these factors. And the other factor that many people forget is deuterium damage to your mitochondria.
Yeah,
Well, if you've got
exactly.
less capacity to oxidize, what is going to happen? That fader or the Randall cycle activation is going to hit you much earlier. And that's why people in their middle age and older that have got more mitochondrial damage balloon out as well because of the underlying. That's why as a youngster you can get
I've
away
got
with
a
it more,
question, if that's
less
right.
mitochondrial damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got one quick question. What kind of diffusion is that from the substrate entering the cell?
We're talking about the one receptor is CD36 for fat, and the other one basically is the GLUT4 receptor that requires insulin.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is when you're in a low carb state, let's say you're exercising in a low carb state, you actually will get this, because it's got glucagon, the insulin to glucagon ratio, which is about 1.3, it's sort of sufficient to basically temp down insulin. So as a consequence of that, you've basically got a situation where you don't have enough to deal with it. So what happens is, the body can't anticipate how much glucose you're going to need for your muscles, how whether you're going to just stop like that, your physical activity, you may not. So what is called the construct, because it's not real, the construct of peripheral resistance, which isn't true, it's just basically you're running on fat, you're using gluconeogenesis, insulin is much lower, the signaling on the receptor side is less, it's at a lower gradient. That lower gradient means that it doesn't sensitize it, so it downregulates that receptor site. But on the other hand, the other receptor is GLUT1. GLUT1 will both take the breakdown type of vitamin C, which is dehydroascorbic acid, but also will take in excess glucose that's in the bloodstream above the basal level. That's why when you're in a low carb state, even though you're exercising, in a very short amount of time, it drops very fast because it diffuses through GLUT1 receptor, which doesn't require insulin, the excess that the rest of the body's not using. And then it gets back to that sort of low basal level, the teaspoon type scenario that people talk about. And that's exactly how that physiology sort of works. And it's the sort of complete reverse with the vegtards, with the way they do their stuff in terms of the Randall cycle, and why, if you throw in a whole lot of fat, they will get like a shock to their system. And that's why people, when they come off of a vegan diet, they get that shock of their system. Well, it's the same thing that happens when people come into a low carb diet. They get another shock to their system if they've been very low fat, or in the other way around. So that's another point this lady ignores.
Yeah, that's the thing. I keep telling people it's very much an adaptive thing. It takes time to adapt to any kind of diet, whether you're going from low fat or.
Did you guys see my Dr. Kilt's Randall cycle video?
No, I don't think so.
No. Well, basically, in a couple of live streams, at least one that I've heard my own ears, read the transcript 3 times.
Yeah, where
he said,
you said Dr. Kilt said it's just a theory. Yeah.
He said it is basically an interesting concept, but it doesn't come into fruition, basically. And I'm like, we can see what happens with the enzymes inside and outside the cell, the concentration gradient. We can see what happens when we don't do what we're anatomically meant to do. The biochemistry is all there. What point of contention is there? And I'm like, I'm listening to it and thinking, am I talking out my arse here? So I checked it so many times over. It turns out, according to my extrapolation, I was correct. So.
Well, the biological mechanisms are there.
Yeah.
They've been, as they say, elucidated or determined through experimentation. So it's not like it's an argument that somebody can
like
have
insulin
or say.
resistance, which is like a.
That's a construct.
It is a construct that we can measure what's going on. Yeah.
of Randall cycle. That's the effect of Randall cycle, where you're getting higher and higher levels of signaling, but the cell itself has locked out, has basically said, the cross inhibition of those enzymatic pathways said, enough. There's just too much energy in this cell. I need to deplete this, and then I'm going to open up for more stuff. So they're getting confused with that sort of stuff and saying, oh, it's insulin resistance. No, the body is an ancestral body that has never been put in this position. And when it has been put in this position, like in that seasonal period where you're consuming basically fructose in order to inhibit the sort of mitochondrial activity, that's a seasonal thing that we used to do in order to fatten up for the winter period as a species in interglacial periods, because the animals were leaner. But in glacial periods where the animals had more fat on them, we didn't need to do that. These are just adaptations, So it's ignorance abounds.
DC, we've hijacked your live stream.
No, it's good. It's always
We're getting right into the weeds, aren't we?
I love listening to Harry. He just rattles off this information like it's nothing. It's incredible. No, that's all good. And that's what these things are about. It's about information and swapping ideas and things like this too. So and
agreed. Yeah. Cool.
You just remind me that another thing that she said was when I asked her simple things like how her diet affects the liver and things like that. How do you support hormone production, right? And her answer was glucose. Glucose is gives her all the energy she needs to have
vitamin E,
hormone function.
omega-3,
all
that good stuff, and all those
no micronutrients at all, zero micronutrients, but she's got all the glucose she needs for hormone production.
You guys notice that?
Yeah, well,
when these guys talk about nutrient
the body
density,
is a Swiss Army knife and can take some of that glucose and convert it to fat and replete the fat storage and provide that and furnish that when somebody needs it. But it's not like optimal. And long term, she will pay for it. It's basically, she's actually, if you take a look, how is she eating? As a vagoon, she's actually got a better strategy than many of the other vagoons that go low carb and waste away, or go fruitarian and waste away. What she's actually doing is she's combining glucose and fructose at the same time, because I think she said 50-50 or something like that. And what that does is that will actually amplify the effect of building up fat. So that's where she's getting a bit of an advantage. And then when she's not eating, she's got fuel to utilize fat as insulin comes down in the evenings or in between meals or whatever. She can access a bit here or there.
Yeah, but I mean, the efficacy of like trying to make those fats is pretty damn low, the percentage wise. And there are certain kinds of fats that we can make some fats, but we can't make all of them. We can't make like omega-3s and things like that. So
Harry, I've got a question. So this is more of a nuanced thing, but we're on the topic. So say a vegan person, whatever, is going to store body fat and they're eating a lot of carbs. So is there a way you can sort of identify, okay, the carbs they take in eventually transmute into fat on their body, adipose tissue? Is there a way to say, okay, because they've eaten them from carbs, the omega-6 to 3 ratio is off, or it's more toxic or something? Like, has that bit of nutrient been tagged to the point where it ends up as body fat to say this is healthy or unhealthy body fat?
Well, obviously the source that you're actually utilizing to convert and produce triglycerides and stuff like that is going to have a different sort of composition. One and the other is going to have also a different deuterium level. So that's the other aspect to it as well. So a polyunsaturated fat coming from one source isn't the same as another source. A saturated fat or a monounsaturated fat coming from a plant source is not going to be the same. I mean, even oils that are cold pressed, extra virgin, like olive oil and all that, 130 ppm, where we know that's the top of the normal range, 100 to 130, because you still need some. And the other thing that she was talking about when she was talking about deuterium there, where it showed that she had no idea what she was talking about. She said, "Oh, animal meat has heaps and heaps of deuterium." Yes, it does. And you know what has the highest amount of deuterium in the protein? The protein part. Complete confusion. The protein part. But we don't oxidize protein. We unless we've actually run out of everything. That's a different state of affairs. That also
Even
has
still,
around the 140, 100 from the grass-fed 136, all the way up to 140 something, 46, depending on what you're feeding the animal. Obviously, if you're feeding it all the grains and stuff like that. But carbohydrates are in the 150 and to 155. The only stuff that's actually lower in the 136 are legumes. For some reason, the structure of legumes, of the carbohydrate, is such where it has less deuterium isotopes. And you know that the body hates deuterium in the mitochondria because it has 10 enzymatic steps through glycolysis right down to pyruvate to strip off those ions, those deuterium ions. That's what it bloody does. If you take a look at the actual biochemistry, what it's doing through that pathway, you'll realise that's what it's getting rid of. All the the deuterium ions. So excess. That's what
the
it
other
can
part
cope
of
with.
that though is her source of fats is not animal either. So
No.
which are so that like these plant-based oils, they're not fats, they're oils, which are extremely high in deuterium.
High.
Yeah. They're
So
in
that's
200.
over 200.
Yeah.
Can be over 200, up to 255 is the highest that they've actually measured them, and over 180 is considered toxic to the mitochondria.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that is the reason why people say, "Oh, what about in the 1950s and 1960s? People used to eat carbohydrates." I go, hold on. First of all, they were more physically active. Even in an office, you didn't have a computer. You had to get up from your desk, go to the filing cabinet, pull out a file, come back, deal with it, take it back to the filing. You're always moving back and forward.
Yeah,
I remember when I was a cartographer in the early days, I didn't have a computer. I had to go down to the titles office, which was in another building, to grab all the actual old surveys, go through the survey books. I was on my feet all day. I was exhausted. My feet were sore at the end of the day. So you were physically active, whether in an office or in outdoors. The other thing is, what did you notice? Look at old images. You got all these old younger people, all skinny, middle-aged, all skinny. And then you hit the older age bracket. What happens? They're all plump.
Yeah.
Because by that stage, they've done enough slow-grade mitochondrial damage from the carbs to get to the point where now they're actually feeling it. All we've done with processed garbage, oils and stuff like that, we've actually done the damage quicker.
Yeah, just sped
earlier.
it up. Just sped up the process.
Exactly.
That's another thing that they don't get. Most of these vegans and so on, they're usually young people, but they just don't understand this is a process, like a slow deterioration of the mitochondria. That it does happen no matter what, but
Yep.
whatever. Yeah, I'll put. Actually, I've got those questions for you if you want. The points that she wanted to bring up was ketogenesis is an alternative metabolic energy generation pathway brought on by cellular glucose starvation. I mean, it's hard not to
it's
laugh.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
The argument for that is, and they'll push back on that. I go, if that is the alternative fuel, the actual alternative fuel, Can you explain why the human body has a reverse T3?
Yeah.
If that's the primary
Antioxidant
fuel, why do we
capacities.
have to reverse T3?
We recycle it because there's
Because
times when, you know,
because T3 is required in the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex between pyruvate and the TCA cycle. You actually have the Krebs cycle, or you basically have the complex of many enzymes sitting there. Now that complex requires T3 in a number of those enzymatic steps. So that's why you need higher on a carbohydrate diet. Higher, you get higher T3. That doesn't mean you're actually, you know, if you're lower, that is a problem. Beta oxidation doesn't need it in that regard. So why would the body create a hormone in a greater amount? No, it'll take the excess T4 that it doesn't require and convert it to reverse T3, which is the logical thing for a system to maintain homeostasis would do, because it's not stupid. Only humans think that it's stupid.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, it's an old saying. It's like there's more wisdom in the body than there is in like all of human philosophies. And
Exactly.
there's it really is. It really is. The body is an amazing machine. It really is.
It can heal itself if you leave it alone and give it
that's
the right stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And like, I'm absolute proof of that. The damage that was done to my body, through a lifetime of low-fat diets, and then of course the chemotherapy and everything, to where I am now. It's incredible how much what the body can recover from if you give it the right food. But like that, no one wants to hear that. They just think, oh, you have to have glucose, idiots. But there you go. Point number 2, like glucose starvation, that still cracks me up, actually. Point number 2, insulin resistance is a result of impaired sugar tolerance brought on by glucose starvation and or high-fat diet.
Well, it's a Randall cycle. We know what it is.
Yeah.
Because all those experiments are done. 99% of experiments, guys, are done on SAD dieters and on rats fed a SAD diet, which is, I can't remember the actual number, but there's a specific type of high-fat diet, which really is, it has a bit of lard in it. It has a whole lot of seed oil. I can't remember the one. I think in the old preparation they were using sunflower. I think now they use soy. They've changed it because it's cheaper. So
Soy
there's
is an
these
absolute
preparations that
toxic,
they make for
rancid
their
thing.
experiments.
Yeah. And soy is absolutely rancid, that stuff. That stuff is a carcinogenic.
And dextrose.
Yeah, and dextrose.
As a sugar.
Yeah. So
Again,
that again, these lab test things are just, exams are just ridiculous, some of them. Anyway, question here: what supplements are you taking, and what amounts to put on muscle while on the carnivore diet? My man Jonathan would be good for that one.
I was going to say Harry. Harry knows Harry knows what I'm taking. So
look, I know you're taking taurine, because taurine basically, just for people to understand, a lot of people say you need carbohydrates to basically for purposes of building muscle and all that. Let's just knock that out of the ring. You don't. The whole idea that you need carbs. Explain me the pathway that actually leads to improvements in muscle. No, they've actually done the experiments. Your people on low carb or high carb, and pretty much the level of glycogen is very similar. The body can furnish all the glycogen you need. Period. End of discussion. That's been there's enough experiments there to prove that. Now, in terms of Then they say, oh, you need carbs for the insulin effect. No, you don't. Leucine does that. The difference is glucose. This is why you end up with bodybuilders in the past that were much leaner because they were consuming less carbohydrates. And today's are basically what I call muscular fat. You've probably heard me say that in the past. And the reason for that is because they're consuming a lot of sugar. And what it does is sugar, there's receptor sites on your fat cells and receptor sites on your musculoskeletal. On the musculoskeletal ones, the things that actually tell the body to build muscle and build bone is leucine, period. Even in a fasted state, I've actually did a video ages ago. Even in a fasted state, leucine will actually increase because you basically what you're doing is in autophagy you're breaking down old cells and all that, and so you end up with a bit of an amino pool inside the actual bloodstream. If there's sufficient leucine, it will basically build tissue even in a fasted state. So that's been proven experimentally. So that's period. And it only does it in that, it doesn't do it in any other. So these hormones that get activated, like insulin, IGF-1 and mTOR, they get activated in those specific tissue types by leucine. Sugar, on the other hand, activates it in the fat cells. Surprise, surprise. And you have to have a certain gradient of sugar before it actually pushes beyond, you've repleted all your glycogen and all that, and at that point, then the activation will actually signal into the fat cells because the body communicates with peptide sort of molecules and a whole lot of other things. A lot of these hormones, that's what they are as well. And they are communicating and finding out what the state of affairs is in terms of the stuff that's coming in. Too much glucose, okay, we're going to convert it to fat and try send out a whole lot of trigs and put it away in storage. That's why her trig levels, one of her subscribe, somebody that actually saw her say this on her own channel was over like 220 and 230. Wow. So she's exporting quite a bit because she's eating excess amounts, and it's the reason why she's able to maintain her body to some extent without tearing down her muscle and bone that she built in the pre-vegan days. And just the cellular turnover is where she's getting a few and sort of maintaining a bit, and with a low-grade breakdown that's actually happening, and she won't feel that for much longer. Like some people can get out to 25 to 30 years before they start facing severe osteoporosis and things like that. But it takes longer if you're basically in positive level in terms of it, the stuff that you're bringing in energy, and you've got enough fats storage to be able to provide that energy without having to tear down musculoskeletal stuff. But in the actual bones, and that is pretty much your leucine that's actually driving that. Now, what amplifies it in the bones in particular, but also in the muscle? Taurine. Taurine binds to the mTOR receptor and has an amplifying effect just in those two tissue types. Funny, it doesn't have that in the fat cells. Don't ask me why.
Harry, I'm gonna head off in about 2 minutes, by the way.
Yep.
No worries.
But I was going to say is, if you're going to, steak and taurine is a really good way to actually do it, and hypertrophy training.
Yeah. Eggs. What about eggs, Harry? Egg yolks in particular.
Yeah, I think they're great. I think the more physically active you are, you're actually doing more damage to your to your muscles, and you probably need more cholesterol. You probably need a lot more of these nutrients, and also for there's going to be also slightly more methylation that's going to take place. So methyl donors like choline are very good for that, especially if you've got MTHFR genetics like I have, and they're more prevalent in European populations in particular. So that's another thing, another reason why you don't need choline supplementation. Yeah. Just eat eggs. I anywhere between 4 to 6 eggs a day. So that's how I get all my methyl donors for my needs, for my genetics, plus when I'm actually, if I'm doing any, because I only do once a week. I'm lazy. I'm old, 59 this year. So I'll throw in, for instance, like 12 eggs on a day that I'm exercising. So right after in my later meal after my exercise training, my hypertrophy training, so to speak, then I'll basically throw in a whole lot of eggs together with some milk
I'm going to go in
and
a minute, Harry.
some meats. Yep.
No worries. Thanks, Jonathan, for joining us.
Yeah.
Actually,
We
we're
want to
going to
answer
end
that
this.
question, though. I've been waiting patiently.
We're going to finish this in 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Probably targeting mitochondria.
My quick thing about that question is, forget what if the person was asking me, forget what supplements I take, has no context relevance to you whatsoever. Largely speaking, what I tell people nowadays is to focus on recovery over performance. Everyone can train harder. You can take a load of caffeine, train really hard, great. Well, if you're not recovering from it, forget about it. Forget all of it. Forget creatine. Forget beta-alanine, citrulline. You know, what's going to help you sleep at night? What's going to support your digestion? What's going to help your liver, kidneys if you're putting your body through that overburden of training? There's not. If you're worried about taking, I don't know, the most expensive protein powder, but you're then not taking taurine, you're pissing in the wind. There's too many benefits of taurine. Harry's got a really good video on it. Buffering lactic acid, one. Hydration, another. Digestion, another. Sleep, GABA. You know, there's so many things to it. But I'd look at recovery over performance-enhancing supplements.
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
Karen, DC.
Yeah, you're right. Taurine it's remarkable. It's like a superhero in the body. It really is absolutely a remarkable sort of nutrient. So, and I agree with Jonathan and Harry. I don't think you need. I mean, you know, Jonathan takes different things for different reasons, but generally speaking, I don't think you really need to add anything too much. I mean, if you're on a carnivore diet, you muscle wise, it's amino acids that build muscle, not carbohydrates. There's nothing in carbohydrates actually, except for that bodybuilders today, they look like bubbles, because of the adipose tissue.
I made a good point as well about this. This is all about the science. So things keep coming to my mind. Harry said about, you look at protein diet versus protein plus carbs diet. Okay, you look in a study and it'll say, okay, your IGF-1 increases by 5 to 10% more. Well, how would you know that 5 to 10% more is giving you 5 to 10% more gains versus 5 to 10% more bloat?
That's right.
Inflammation. There's a level to these things. What does it give you long term? Beta-alanine, 12-week studies, no significant improvement in body composition. Okay, maybe it helps with lactic acid buffering. Great for cyclists doing uphill intense stuff. For bodybuilding, well, no, not really. It doesn't seem to yield anything. So it's,
Remember what I said earlier, Jonathan, about the, giving people leucine when they were fasting and actually still achieving protein synthesis?
Yeah.
Well, at what level are those hormones? Quite low in a fasted state. You don't need much to signal in the right tissue type.
Milos Sarshev is the bodybuilder. He's been promoting that for years, and he said, I posted my winning picture or something on Instagram or like a year ago. He said, oh, you need carbs to build muscle. I tagged him in and said, apparently not. I've gained muscle whilst on a carnivore diet in elite years of training, advanced years of training where I shouldn't have been able to gain muscle, and I'm more of a cripple now than I was before. And he said, oh, you're carnivore, you're flat. I'm like, okay, here's me at the finals, nailing everyone but 6 people had placed out of me. I didn't look flat at all. I was one of the fullest people up there. So
there you
go. He's the guy that needs to watch his words. He's putting them in hospital, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like these people that, and it's was it Mark Bell was another one. He's recently gone to the sugar diet after that other idiot, and they're going to put people in hospital. That they're really dangerous people.
Well, they're telling some people some of these players are also telling people to use insulin. I'm going, this is why people are dying young in this bodybuilding world. They're dying young because they're injecting things like insulin. I'm going, it's just crazy stuff.
I found it to be heart disease and kidney disease. So anything which impacts your heart and kidneys is what's killing people in the bodybuilding world.
Yeah, not a good thing.
No.
I think there is another thing that people overlook too is breath work. Low oxygen tension, you stimulate HIF production, and the kidney will produce more EPO, and then that'll stimulate the bone marrow to produce more blood cells. So breath work, I think for athletes is it's something that is a must as well if you want to increase performance naturally, and just learn to breathe properly, and close your mouth at night and all that sort of stuff as well. Just breathe through the nose. These are small factors that can make a big difference as well. Just one small habit, 15 minutes a day. It's not gonna, it's not a big time commitment. You can really do a lot. It'll give you a much better performance in the gym, which is obviously going to give you, better results as long as you get recovery. It also helps, that also helps with recovery. So these are simple things that you can do.
I agree, DC. It's really things of that sort. We sort of neglect these things, and I point to, like the tribal people and all that. They're earthing themselves. They're out in the sun getting good vitamin D. It's not just the diet. It's all these lifestyle factors that in the modern world we've actually, in terms of progress, we've eliminated a lot of these things. Plus, we've eliminated diversity in our gut we over sterilize our environment, which means a lot of things around now. We're breeding pathogenic bacteria, particularly in hospitals and places like that. And we've created a hell for ourselves that's really damaging our health. And it's all of us are struggling to try and get back to, I'm not saying try and get back to Eden or whatever, but we're trying to get back to replicating or mimicking, circadian rhythms, mimicking as close as possible without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, our modern life, to be able to restore health and longevity and health span, which is really important. You don't want to be a cripple in your old age. Completely, wheelchair unable to get off the chair because you've basically got no muscle mass whatsoever to be able, to lift yourself out. All these things that they're pushing are the complete opposite what we need to do. And I can see my father, he's 90, and he's able to cope far better, even with a bad knee, go out and do things and all that. Why? Because he's eating more protein. He's lifting little weights all day. He's doing his hand exercise and all that. And he's got a real good grip strength, of a much younger person in their middle age equivalent. They can't believe his doctor. But what it is for me and the rest of us, it's that if we look after our body as much as possible, feed it the right things, we don't need, we're not athletes. But as Jonathan said earlier, you don't need to do all these supplements. You don't need to do all this stuff. Just do what will maintain a good physical body, good functioning body, and all that. And do some earthing, do some, mindful thinking. Go out into nature. Do some breathing exercises, as DC said. Things like that are going to basically give you a lot of advantages in terms of being able to maintain good health and actually extend your life, your healthy lifespan. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to end up in a nursing home with tubes coming out of you.
No, that's right. And I mean, I've got a video like 8 habits that saved my life. These are just small things that you can do.
That's a good video.
I mean, these habits really do work. They make a very big difference. And from the time I was 38 and I was in hospital going through these treatments to where I am now, you can see the difference. Okay. So yeah, we'll leave it there, everyone. But thank you very much, Harry and Jonathan, for joining us. Always a great chat. And,
thanks for the invite.
All right. Thanks everyone in the chat for joining us. Really appreciate it, and hope we got to most of the questions there. So if not, just leave them in the comments and we can get back to you some other time. Okay.